Anger is information. It's telling you something important. Maybe it's telling you you've been tolerating bullshit for too long and something needs to change. Don't waste that information. When you feel that flash of rage, when the amygdala hijacks sparks, your one job is to not react. That's it. What's actually happening in your brain when you are enraged? Because we have to understand what's going on within ourselves so that we know how and where and what to do about the problem, right? So let's talk about the neuroscience for a minute, because understanding what's happening in your brain when you're pissed off, it's just half of the battle. Okay, so you've developed one of two patterns. You became a bomb waiting to explode, or you became a pressure cooker swallowing every ounce of rage until you just imploded. Neither works. Neither one of them works. Okay? So when you explode, you prove every manipulator, toxic person, self-righteous, justified asshole that they're right. They get to play the victim. They get to point at your outburst and say, see, you are the crazy one. I told you. And when you implode, you destroy yourself from the inside out. The anger turns inward. It becomes depression, anxiety, self-hatred. It becomes physical symptoms, headache, stomach aches, chronic stomach problems, chronic pain. Your body keeps the score. And that's the framework for what we're building today, because you deserve to feel your anger without it costing you everything. Let me paint you a picture. You're in a meeting, or maybe you're at the grocery store. Hell, maybe you're just sitting at home and someone says something. One comment, one look, one dismissive little gesture, and you feel it. That white hot flash behind your eyes. Your jaw clenches, your hands ball into fists, and every molecule in your body is screaming at you to just unleash holy hell on whatever. And here's the thing, you want to. God, do you want to? But you can't. Not without consequences, right? Not without looking crazy, like you're the crazy one. Not without losing your job or damaging the relationships. Proving every toxic person in your life that they're right when they said you were the problem, right? So what do you do? What do you do? You swallow it. And it's a tough pill to swallow, right? You shove it down, you smile through gritted teeth. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you tell yourself you're being mature, you're being the bigger person, right? But that rage, it doesn't just disappear. It sits in your chest like a grenade with the pin kind of half pulled, waiting, just waiting for the next trigger. And when it finally goes off, oh, it's nuclear. It's nuclear. And it's disproportionate. It's exactly the kind of explosion that just makes you hate yourself later, right? Does that sound familiar? Because here's the question that I want you to sit with today. What if anger isn't the enemy after all? What if the problem isn't that you feel rage? It's that nobody ever taught you how to control it in the moment, weaponize it later. I'm Amy Pease, and this is Passion from Pain. And today we're going to talk about anger, the real, raw, justified anger, and how to stop letting it control you so you can turn it into something truly powerful, something purposeful, something that actually serves your life instead of destroying it, dismantling it. bringing you down. Because here's the truth that they don't tell you is that anger is fuel. And fuel, when controlled, can power empires. But when uncontrolled, it burns everything to the ground, including you. So let's dive into this. So the problem, okay, why we explode and why it costs us everything. So let's get real for just a second. Most of us were never taught how to handle anger. We weren't. If you grew up in a toxic household, anger is it was either a weapon of choice, screaming, breaking things, violence, or it was just forbidden entirely. You were told to calm down. Don't be dramatic. You're too sensitive. You learned that anger made you weak, made you wrong, made you the problem. So you've developed one of two patterns. You became a bomb waiting to explode, or you became a pressure cooker, swallowing every ounce of rage until you just imploded. Neither works. Neither one of them works. Okay. So when you explode, you prove every manipulator, toxic person, self righteous, justified asshole that they're right. They get to play the victim. They get to point at your outburst and say, see, you are the crazy one. I told you, you are the abuser. And suddenly, all the gaslighting and all the toxicity and all the legitimate reasons you had to be angry, gone, erased, because you lost control. And when you implode, you destroy yourself from the inside out. The anger turns inward. It becomes depression, anxiety, self hatred. It becomes physical symptoms, headache, stomach aches, chronic stomach problems, chronic pain. Your body keeps the score. We've talked about this over and over. Right? There's a wonderful book called The Body Keeps the Score, and the author, it escapes me at the moment, but I'll put it in the show notes for you. But The Body Keeps the Score, wonderful book to get into about this subject. But it does. Your body keeps the score, and the bill does come due, and your body is going to collect whether you like it or not. And it always happens at the most inconvenient times in our lives, right? So, what's the alternative? Control the moment and channel it later. Control the moment, channel it later. Control the anger now in the moment, but use it later in this building or doing something incredibly powerful with it. That is strategy. That is tactical. Okay. And that's the framework for what we're building today because you deserve to feel your anger without it costing you everything. We deserve to feel our feelings. And anger is actually a very positive emotion when when it's wielded the right way. Okay. So the science, what's actually happening in your brain when you are enraged? So why do we get into the science? Because we have to understand what's going on within ourselves so that we know how and where and what to do about the problem, right? Logically. Okay. So let's talk about the neuroscience for a minute because understanding what's happening in your brain when you're pissed off, it's just half of the battle. Okay. When something triggers you, someone disrespects you, crosses a boundary, manipulates you, your amygdala, that wonderful best friend, prison guard of ours, it lights up. Okay. That's the part of your brain responsible for detecting threats. It's ancient, it's primal, and it's survival based. And it doesn't care about nuance. It doesn't care that you're in a Zoom meeting. It doesn't care that you're standing in line at Target. It just knows threat detected, respond appropriately. So your amygdala sends a signal to the hypothalamus, which triggers your sympathetic nervous system. Adrenaline floods your body. Your heart rate spikes, your muscles tense, blood rushes away from the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for the rational thinking, decision making, and impulse control. And it floods into your limbs, okay? Preparing for what? Fight or flight, right? This is called an amygdala hijack. And when this happens, you're literally not thinking clearly. Okay. Your rational brain is offline, checked out. You're operating on pure instinct alone. And this is why you say things that you regret. Okay. This is why you do things that feel justified in the moment and horrifying an hour later. And we'll get into why an hour later is important timing. Okay. Your prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain, has left the building and the amygdala is running the show. And here's the real kicker, okay? It takes about 20 minutes for your nervous system to regulate after an amygdala hijack. 20 minutes, okay? That's how long it takes for the adrenaline to metabolize, for your prefrontal cortex to come back online, and for you to start thinking clearly and logically again. So if you're trying to talk it out or to resolve it in the heat of the moment, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're trying to negotiate with a brain that's in survival mode, and that just does not work. You have to buy yourself some time. You gotta buy yourself that 20 minutes. Okay. So, and this is something we've known for a long time. Ancient warriors. I talk about them all the time because, they really dove into these kind of subjects, and we kind of really didn't understand that. But as we study them and we start to understand science and neuroscience more, we start to see that maybe they understood a lot more than we thought that they did. So let's talk about that ancient wisdom for just a minute, okay? The art of strategic rage. Okay, because our ancestors understood something we have forgotten. Anger, when controlled, is a weapon. Okay, so think about the Spartan warriors, the samurai, the Vikings. Okay, these were cultures built on controlled aggression. They didn't suppress their rage, they harnessed it, they trained it for years to master the ability to stay calm under pressure, to channel their fury into precision, strategy, into power. Sun Tzu said in The Art of War, he who is prudent and lies in wait for an enemy who is not will be victorious. Amy, what the hell does that mean? Translation: don't react in the heat of the moment. You wait, you strategize, you strike when you're clear headed and in control. Then. And then Carl Jung, love diving into his work. Carl Jung talked about this too, in a different way. He called it integrating the shadow. The anger, your rage, your darkness, that is part of your shadow. And the shadow isn't something to fear or suppress, it's something to acknowledge and integrate into who you are. Jung said everyone carries a shadow. And the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser that shadow is. So when you shove your anger down, when you pretend it doesn't exist, it grows stronger. It festers, ferments, it controls you from the unconscious. But when you acknowledge it, when you say, yes, I'm angry, that's valid, that's okay, you take away its power to completely ambush you and blindside you. You bring it right into the light, front and center, where you can work with it. Your anger isn't the enemy, okay? Unconscious, uncontrolled anger is your enemy. So control in the moment, channel it later. Let's get practical about this. Let's talk about the actual framework for controlling your anger in the moment, because this is powerful. Okay? This is the key right here. Being able to control the anger in the moment. Very difficult to do. I get it. But it can be done. You can train yourself to do this. And when you train yourself to do this, you can become unstoppable. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. When I first learned these techniques, because anger was one of my issues, but I was one of the pressure cooker types. I would just bring it in and push it down until I imploded in depression, anxiety, self harm, all of that, right? And it was all from anger. But I'm going to get into how I fixed that for myself, okay? But let's get practical for you right now. In the moment, buy yourself some time, okay? You're in a situation, you are thoroughly pissed. You're seeing the white behind the eyes red, your fists, your teeth are gritting, you're ready. Your amygdala is just running the show now. Okay. Number one, in the moment, buy yourself some time. That's the only thing I want you to think about in that moment. When you feel that flash of rage, when the amygdala hijack starts, your one job is to not react. That's it. You're not trying to resolve anything. You're not trying to win the argument. You're trying to survive the next 20 minutes without saying or doing something that you're going to regret later. Okay? Here's how. Number one, name it. It sounds simple, but it works. Literally say to yourself in your head or out loud if you're alone, I'm angry. This is anger. My amygdala is hijacked right now. That's it, okay? And why does this work? Because naming the emotion activates the prefrontal cortex, the rational brain, okay? It's called affect labeling, and studies are showing that it reduces the intensity of the emotion in the moment. You're literally bringing your thinking brain back online by putting a label on it, by saying what you're going through, okay? Number 2, I want you to breathe. And I know everyone says just breathe, and it sounds like some toxic positivity bullshit, but I get it. But here is the science. There is science behind this. Your breathing directly impacts that nervous system, okay? When you're fight or flight, okay, when you are in fight or flight, your breathing is shallow and fast. That keeps that sympathetic nervous system activated. It keeps you tense. It keeps you just on edge. Okay. But if you slow that breathing down, especially making your exhales longer than your inhales, you're going to activate that parasympathetic nervous system. Okay. And that's the rest and digest system. And it tells your body, we're not in danger. We can calm down. Okay. So try this. Breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, and breathe out for 6 counts. Now repeat this 3 to 4 times. It won't make the anger disappear, but it will help to bring your prefrontal cortex back online faster. That's the goal here. Okay? We're not making the anger disappear. We're just bringing our logical brain back online. Okay? Step number 3, I want you to remove yourself. If you can, physically leave the situation. Go to the bathroom, step outside, end the conversation with, I need a minute. We'll talk about this later. Okay? Buy yourself the 20 minutes that you need. You don't owe anyone an immediate response, especially not when your brain is being hijacked by your amygdala. Okay? So here's the thing, if someone won't let you take a break, if they're demanding you engage right now, if they're escalating because you're trying to walk away, that is a red flag. Healthy people respect the need for space. Manipulators, toxic sons of bitches, they don't. Okay? Take note of that. If they are not allowing you to step away, to collect your thoughts, to calm down, okay? to allow you the time to think clearly. That's a red flag, and they want to engage you. They want to bring out that crazy person in you. Think about that. Step number 4 now, I want you to move your body. So, anger is physical, it's adrenaline coursing through your body. Adrenaline, right? Preparing you to fight if necessary. Okay, so if you sit there and try to calm down, that energy goes nowhere. This is why just trying to breathe, through it doesn't necessarily work, right? Because the adrenaline needs to be metabolized, it needs to go somewhere. So you need to move, do some push ups, go for a walk, punch a pillow. Shake your hands out. Let your body metabolize that adrenaline. This isn't about releasing anger and letting go. This is about controlling it so you can use it later. We want to use this anger later because anger is a beautiful thing when it is funneled appropriately, focused. And that's what we're going to do with it. We're going to focus our anger. Okay. And part two, the later, channeling this anger into power. This is the part that I love. This is the part that I love. This is the part where transformation happens. Okay. So you survived the moment. You didn't explode. You didn't say something you can't take back. You bought yourself time. Now what? Now you use that anger. But here's the truth, anger is information. Okay. It's telling you something important. Maybe it's telling you a boundary was crossed. Maybe it's telling you someone disrespected you. Maybe it's telling you you've been tolerating bullshit for too long and something needs to change. Don't waste that information. That is precious information. Don't shove it down and pretend it didn't happen. What are you doing? No, we channel it, right? And here's how we channel it. Journal the rage. I know you're gonna roll your eyes. Amy, you're always telling me to journal. I know, but it works. Grab a notebook, open a document on your phone, and write. Or if you're not into writing or can't in the moment, open up your phone and just do an audio recording or a video recording. Okay, you don't have to post it anywhere. Okay, but it's just getting this information documented and out. All right. So grab that notebook, open a doc on your phone, right? Whatever method you choose. Don't edit yourself. Very important. Very important. Don't edit yourself. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about sounding rational. Just dump it all out. Let it out. All right. Use the bad words. They're words of passion. They're words of anger. They're words of that just enhance the feeling of what you're feeling. Use them. I am so freaking angry because let it rip. Get specific, name the names, write the things you would never say out loud. This serves two purposes. It gets the emotion out of the body and it helps you identify the real issue. Sometimes what you think you're angry about isn't actually the core problem. That's where this really helps. Okay. Number 2, I want you to ask yourself, what does this anger want me to do? Anger is energy demanding action. It's a very action oriented emotion. So, what action does it want? Does it want me to set a boundary? Does it want me to end a relationship? Speak up about something that you've been tolerating? Change the situation in your life. Get clear on what the anger is pointing you toward. Then decide if that action aligns with your values or goals. And then step 3 is where we're going to turn it into fuel. And this is where it gets powerful. Some of the greatest achievements in history were fueled by anger. People who were told they weren't enough, okay, weren't smart enough, would never succeed, okay, and they used that rage to prove everyone wrong, to prove everyone wrong. And and there's some really good examples of that. The gal who started Mothers Against Drunk Driving lost her daughter to a drunk driver, but what did she do? She used the anger from losing her daughter and turned it into a powerful movement that saves countless lives today. How incredible is that? How incredible is that? And that came from channeling the rage and turning the anger into fuel. All right. Anger can fuel the business you build to become financially independent from the toxic people you're trying to boot from your life. Anger can fuel the boundaries you finally set after years of people pleasing. It can fuel the workout that transforms your body and your confidence. It can fuel the art, the music, the writing that becomes your legacy. Wow. Wow. Channeled anger can do all of that for you. Being disgusted, just being pissed off, and using the emotion the correct way can have such a positive impact on your life if you know how to use it and you know what to do with it. So for me, when I was angry, I would turn on heavy metal music. I let the music match the intensity of what I was feeling. And I channeled that energy into something productive. Okay. Something, sometimes it was content creation. Sometimes it was working out. Sometimes it was just screaming along to the lyrics until I felt like I have purged the poison and the toxicity that was just pulsing through my veins. Find your outlet, find the thing that alchemizes rage into power. Okay. And step 4, I want you to decide if a response is necessary. Okay. When you're going through and you're evaluating the situation, is a response necessary? Sometimes after you've processed the anger, you realize the person or situation isn't worth your time or energy. It isn't worth bringing it back up again. You don't owe everyone a confrontation. Some people don't deserve the gift of your honesty. They don't. Okay. But sometimes a response is necessary. A boundary needs to be set. A conversation needs to happen. And if that's the case, wait until you are calm. Don't do it while your amygdala has your brain completely hijacked, while the adrenaline is rushing through your system. Don't do it then. Okay? Wait until you're calm. Wait until that prefrontal cortex is the boss again. Wait till it's back online. Then address it from a place of clarity and power, not reactivity. You'll sound rational, you'll be articulate, and you'll make your point without giving them ammunition to call you the crazy one. That's the strategy. That's the framework. Okay. So I want to get personal for a minute. My tool. And I mentioned it briefly here just a few minutes ago, but how heavy metal essentially saved my life. And I'm not exaggerating. When I was in the thick of my own toxic situation, I was so angry, I didn't know what to do with it. Music became my outlet. I am not a musical person. I cannot sing. I have zero rhythm, and I dance like your typical white girl. Okay? But I'm pretty damn good in the middle of a mosh pit. I will tell you that. I used to be. I'm too old for that now, but anyway, but it was what became my outlet. It spoke to me. I would put on bands like Slipknot and Godsmack and, oh god, going way back, Judas Priest, and just whatever, right? So much. It depended on what I was feeling, what was going on, and what particular band was gonna resonate with me. Music that matched the intensity of what I was feeling. And I would let it rip. Oh man, I'd scream, I'd headbang until my neck hurt. My chiropractor loved me during this time of my life because my bill was so high. And I'd let the aggression, the chaos, and the raw power of the music channel everything that I couldn't say out loud. Here's what happened. I didn't explode. Okay, I didn't take it out on the wrong people. I didn't implode and destroy myself. I was able to then turn it into fuel. Music kind of became the container for my rage. It gave me permission to feel it without, you know, consequences. And when the song ended, I was clearer, calmer, and ready to take action from a place of power, not depression. And if I wasn't at that place yet, I would just hit replay and I would continue until I was there. All right. When my husband and I first met, this was back when we had CD players in our car and we would have mixed CDs. And I had a CD in my car. And I'll never forget this is the flip down visor, right? Where you would slide the CDs in. And he decided to drive my car that day. It was a 1994 Thunderbird. It's pretty freaking cool. And he flipped it down and wanted to see what music I had. And there was my two burned CDs. Amy's Pissed Volume 1, Amy's Pissed Volume number 2. I'll never forget. He's like, "Man, you have so much rage, you need 2 volumes of Amy's Pissed." And I'm like, "Damn right I do." You're lucky that I have those 2 volumes of Amy's Pissed because that's how I get it out of my system. He was like, "Alright, fair enough." Okay. Just a fun story on that. Okay. Um, but you don't have to use music. Your outlet may be very different. You can use a different kind of music. It doesn't have to be heavy metal. It is just what resonated with me. Okay? But find something that lets you honor the intensity of what you're feeling without letting it destroy you. Because you deserve to feel your anger. You just don't deserve to let it cost you everything, right? And if you want Amy's list of songs in Amy's Pissed Volume 1 and Volume 2, I would be happy to share that with you if you want some inspiration. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I will put together a playlist of my favorite heavy metal songs that got me through. That's a great idea. I think I'm gonna do that for you guys. Anyway, let's bring this home. Anger is not the enemy, right? Unconscious, uncontrolled anger is the enemy. When you learn to control your anger in the moment, when you give yourself those 20 minutes to let your brain come back online, you stop proving toxic people that they're right because they're not right, but they're looking for the proof that they are. You stop giving them ammunition. You stop sabotaging yourself. And when you learn to channel that anger later, when you turn it into fuel, into boundaries, into art, into power, you become unstoppable. You stop being a victim of your emotions. You become the strategist, the warrior, the person who doesn't just survive, you thrive, you dominate this shit. That's the work, that's the journey, and it's not easy, but it's worth it. It is so worth it. And if this episode resonated with you, do me a favor. I want you to subscribe to Passion from Pain. Okay. Subscribe to this channel. Help us get the message out there. Let's help empower others who are in these situations. Help empower people to leave toxic situations, to overcome themselves in the aftermath of these toxic situations. Right? Subscribe, share, get this message out there. Let's create this movement, create this community. All right. I drop exclusive content once a month, deep dives, tools, real talk you won't get anywhere else. Okay. And if you want even more bloopers, deeper dives, content you can't get anywhere else, check out my new Patreon. I'm building a community of people who are done with the bullshit and ready to do the work. We're done with toxic positivity. We're done with the glitter. We're done with the lies. We're done with all of that Instagram pretty words on a pretty background shit that doesn't work. We're ready for the real stuff that works. And the merch. The merch is going to be live. Incredible t-shirts with incredibly powerful phrases to help keep you motivated on your journey. Represent the brand. Wear your story, okay? And those links are going to be in the show notes. And before you go, I want to hear from you. What is your biggest struggle with anger? Is it controlling it in the moment? Or knowing what to do with it later? Drop a comment. Let's talk about it. You are not alone in this. There are so many others. So many others. And thank you for being here. Thank you for doing the work on yourself. Okay? I see you. I do. And I will see you in the next episode. I love you guys. Keep being you, keep being strong, keep being incredible. Don't let them bring you down. Don't let them take you down. I love you guys.
Yeah.